Hi folks, today I have many good news for Sony shooters because we got the new 100mm GM macro lens, which is an astounding lens. I think they really nailed it from the performance point of view, but also the pricing, which is unusual from Sony. And the good news is that I told you previously that first we will get the lens and then the Sony A7 III. And so the rumors were right. We got the new lens, so the A7 III is close. And I want to give you just a hint about the progress on the rumor part regarding this this camera, and also talk you quickly about the possible RX APS-C fixed lens Sony camera, and then last but not least, share some info about an official news from Sony. We are getting a new 105 megapixel, 100 frames per second global shutter sensor. Quite astounding also this one. It's for industrial use, so not directly for photography, but the tech will be implemented on future mirrorless alpha cameras too, so about that I'm sure. But before we kick off, a quick reminder to first of all like this video to help me the YouTube algorithm, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification button to not miss out the upcoming rumors. In my previous weeks, I leaked you two big info regarding Sony, that we will get a 100mm GM macro lens and then we would get a new Sony A7 III sometimes after. And the rumors are likely to be both true because we finally got the official release of the 100mm GM macro. It's exactly like I told you, exclusive on this channel, so the specs were right, the leaked images were right, and I will give you a quick opinion about this lens and then we will move on to the A7 III, to the RX rumor, and also talk about the global shutter sensor. I didn't have obviously a chance to play with the lens, but I watched some reviews and I think Sony nailed it 100%. As you know, I criticize Sony when I think they deserve it, but on this lens they didn't do anything wrong. First of all, of course, the image quality, as I see from the image samples on and from reviewers I trust, is superb. It has all the functionalities macro users need, so if you're a macro shooter, you know this is the lens to get. It also supports teleconverters, which means that you can not only use a standard 1.4 macro, but also go up to 2.8 using teleconverters. So this is another exciting feature, and the autofocus performance is great and so forth. I also like that they maintain the classic 90mm look, so with the colored, information on the lens. But the unexpected news is that actually for the first time since a long time, I can clearly say that the price of this lens is really right. It's priced at $1,500, and I think for what it does, this is a great price. If you're interested in getting this lens, I think you will not do any mistake pre-ordering today. If you want to pre-order the lens, by the way, I have the links in the description box. Those are affiliated link. You don't pay a cent more, but I get a small commission. It's a nice way to support me, so thanks if you are using those links. But they really need it, and it makes me hopeful for future products that maybe we are getting new cameras like the A7 III, but other cameras that are rumored and lenses that might not be crazy in terms of price, at least also in the US market, because you also have to factor in the tariffs. So that lens is excellent, and hopefully that's the start of a better pricing policy from Sony. Now let's move on to the Sony A7 III. I told you when I leaked the first images of the Sony A7 III that I had some additional info from a trusted source, and I was using that info to double check the info that I received from other people to see that they are really sharing correct info. I made little progress as of yet, so I didn't get additional info from other sources. So I don't have, for example, the release date yet. Should be happening between now, October and November. If you recall it, the Sony A7 IV was announced in October 21, so it could be happening also mid-October. There is, for example, a big Sony Alpha event in Europe in Barcelona, and maybe that will be a perfect fit for the Sony A7 V announcement, but I don't have a confirmation as of yet, so hopefully I will get some more info in the next days. So, by the way, if you have some info, you can contact me using this email address and contact form. But hopefully in my next video, I can share some more tidbits about the A7 V and also share some more leaked images I got in the meantime that I think also show you some couple of curious features, okay? So stay tuned for that video. It's coming soon, but it's taking a tiny bit longer than I expected. Now, moving on. A Sony manager has been interviewed by Lenswith, and he shared some insights about the latest camera announcement like the FX2 and the RX1R3 He explained why those cameras make sense for Sony, so absolutely check out the original interview at Lensway to hear about that part. There was one interesting part about a possible future new product. Basically, the interviewer asked the manager why Sony didn't make a fixed lens APS-C camera yet, because there's a big gap between the RX100 series and the RX1R series. APS-C fixed lens camera would make sense, and basically, first of all, he said that from a business point of view, there are 2 points to consider. First of all, this is a very niche market, so of course the cameras like the Ricoh, the Fujifilm are selling hot, but as soon as you would add a third camera, if more people would compete in that segment, the share of cameras to sell is starts to get smaller. So it's not a big market. So that's the first probably limitation. The second limitation is that, of course, Sony already has many different cameras. The ZV, the FX, the Alpha lineup, and so forth. APS-C, full frame, all kinds of cameras. And if you would launch a new lineup, it would take resources from other developments. So that's also something to wait in. He personally sees a reason and would love to get an APS-C fixed lens camera, but this is his personal opinion, but said by a Sony manager means that probably he and others think it would be a good idea to offer a APS-C RX camera. I think they should do it. I think, for example, an RX camera with a pancake zoom lens, like the interviewer suggested, would definitely fit into the market. That's my opinion, but let's see if this is going to happen, and maybe in the future some sources will tell me more if this is a possibility or not. Would be nice to get such a model. Now moving on, as I told you in my last video, Sony clearly stated in an official press event mid-September that they want to push forward with global shutter. And now they announced a new 105 megapixel, 100 frames per second global shutter sensor. Now this is a square sensor with a 39.7 millimeter diagonal, so tiny bit smaller than the full frame sensor, which is 43.3, but still larger than the 26.8 millimeter diagonal of an APS-C sensor. This sensor is made for industrial use, so it's not marketed directly for the photographic industry. What's very clear is that all the tech to develop for mobile, automotive industry or industrial industry is tech that always finds in a different version the way in alpha cameras. And what's interesting about this sensor is that they managed to squeeze a high resolution 105 megapixel with such a tremendous speed. So it's actually 73 frames per second at 12-bit, 100 frames per second at 10-bit, but stunning. It means they can achieve impressive speed with a high resolution sensor. I think they are really close to bring high resolution global shutter full frame sensors to the alpha range. My guess and my bet, just a speculation, is that the future Sony A1III will have a 50-something megapixel global shutter sensor with that tremendous speed, and this would really be great. This was it regarding Sony. I hope that in my next video I can finally give you some additional Sony A7 V info. I didn't get any other info about other cameras as of yet, at least for the release in by end 2025. I think the Sony A7 V is likely to be the only camera to be announced. I don't know if there is one more lens coming, but I didn't get the confirmation. But there's still some small chance we get maybe one more lens, so stay tuned for that. And anyway, a reminder that you can always contact me here if you find something in the web or you hear something. It's very useful if you send me the info you got or you found. And that's it, folks. Again, subscribe and hit the notification button, because hopefully soon I can leak you more info about the next Sony stuff, but also Canon has an announcement, maybe also Nikon, maybe a Z9 II, something like this. Leica will have a big announcement, two big announcements in October, so there's plenty of stuff coming soon. See you, folks.